I guess we shall get started then. My name is Shauna Gore, and I am the editor of the first Axe Cop series that Dark Horse published. That's how I'll say it. And this is Ethan Nicolle, the amazing artist behind Axe Cop. We don't have Malachi with us, so this is going to be sort of a funny panel because Malachi is usually the panel. Having a 7-year-old throwing candy at people totally helps. So we're just gonna probably talk a little bit about Axe Cop, and feel free to ask questions and jump in here and there. We just want to have a fun conversation with you guys. So
yeah, I didn't bring anything. So this is like the most unprepared I've ever been for a convention.
Yeah,
I'm used to people not even wanting to talk to me.
Yeah.
Or see anything I've made at conventions, so it's just such a weird thing to like show up and have like people want to see stuff, and I'm like, oh, I didn't bring anything.
This video is brought to you by TFAW.com. Visit TFAW.com and use the code STUMPTOWN at checkout to save $5 on your next purchase of $20 or more. TFAW.com.
How many of you guys, did you start reading Axe Cop when it was online at first? Is that, like, how many people in here are in that category? Yeah, me too. Have you guys read the Dark Horse stuff that we've published too, like Bad Guy Earth?
Bad Guy Earth?
Yes.
That's an interesting
Only a few, really?
Yeah.
It's my favorite stuff we've done so far, just so you guys know.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good stuff. That's something that I think is interesting to talk about from a sort of nerdy comics point of view, is the difference between creating something like Axe Cop for consumption online, where you're talking about reading, like, the episodes that you started out with were like a page or two at a time. Gradually they got a little longer. So it was really interesting working with Ethan and Malachi on the whole idea of, okay, how are we going to do a mini-series that actually spans 3 issues? Are we going to do like little weird stories just like you would do online? Or, and it was sort of awesome because we made this agreement that we really couldn't do it unless Malachi was into the idea of doing that too. So I thought it was really cute. We basically sent Ethan up to Washington for a couple of weeks to play with Malachi and see what happened.
A month.
Yeah, it was a month. And I remember like a few weeks into it, he basically called me like, oh man, I'm exhausted, but I think we have something. So I think I would like you to talk about your process a little bit, because it is pretty amazing.
Well, it was, Dark Horse was talking to me about publishing pretty much right off the bat. After Axe Cop exploded, every publisher was talking to me. And I chose Dark Horse pretty early on. They were the ones I was the most interested in. It was kind of good because it was like, if I could have picked a publisher, it would have been Dark Horse, and they made the best offer, so it was a very easy choice. But then they proposed a miniseries, which is like a 3-part full story, where it's like a 75-page story, which, like, in normal comics, 75-page story isn't that much, but in Axe Cop terms, you've been to millions of planets, you've killed gazillions of bad guys, you've been everywhere, everything you can think of has been killed, and that is so much material.
Made into a weapon, shot out of something. Yeah.
And so I was really, because we'd only put out like 10 pages of stuff at that time, I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. And so I started, when Axe Cop kind of went viral, I started making a lot more stuff with Malachi. I started putting out, a lot more stuff every week, but it was all on the phone, because I live down in LA and he lives in Central Washington, kind of out, I never give the city that he lives in away, because there's so many weird, creepy people in the comics industry. No offense.
People who read Axe Cop are totally normal.
Except for Axe Cop fans, yeah. But, so I kind of started getting the hang of him, and one thing I go, well, as I started realizing that Axe Cop was this very unique opportunity, that I was just pulling all this crazy stuff out of his brain and making this collection of stuff that I knew we were going to look back on, and this is going to be so much fun. And also, I wasn't making this for me and Malachi, I was making kind of a monument to the childhood imagination, like I was going, I'm gonna make money on this, why not go all out and try to do a miniseries? What can I lose? So I went to Moses Lake. Who did I just give the city away? Don't tell anybody that.
They won't be able to find it.
So I went up there to visit Malachi, and I go, I'm going to spend a month there, and with my family, and just play every day with Malachi. And I'm going to try to. Because the thing about doing a miniseries is I tried to explain to him the idea of doing a full. And he isn't even. He's not thinking story when we're writing. It's not that he's writing. He's not going, oh, wait, we need to do this. We need some tension in this scene.
Yeah.
So I have to go. I have to play with him and go, finish the day of playtime, go through the notes of what I did, and go, okay, the story needs this stuff, and lay out note cards and stuff, figure out the missing stuff, and so it really just came down to like play, and as long as Malachi wants to play, and as long as I can guide it in the way that like it feeds the story to some extent. Basically, we had tons of extra stuff. So I mean, you read Bad Guy Earth, all that stuff is in there. I actually cut a bunch of stuff out that I have all this extra X-Cop trimmings and stuff for other things, and actually right now, one of the reasons I'm so badly prepared is because for the last 3 weeks I've been with Malachi again, working on more stuff. So I just came here for the weekend, but I didn't have my access to all my stuff down in LA, so that's one reason I'm so ill prepared for this convention.
Yeah. Do you guys have does anybody have any questions about the process of it so far?
Does Malachi ever just get sick of Axe Cop?
He seems to get less sick of it as he goes on. He gets more excited about it, because I think he's really gotten the hang of the idea that whenever we make something, it gets made into a book, so he's gotten more excited. Because now the kid is an amazing reader. Like he's reading at like 187 words a minute or something right now. He's reading, last time I was there, he just finished a Hardy Boys book, like a full, no pictures, 200-page book, and he just turned 7. So he loves reading. Yeah. So he's excited to sit there and read. Like we were sitting there, this is kind of like the 1-year anniversary of our visit to write Bad Guy Earth. And so now we're sitting there together on the couch reading Bad Guy Earth together, and it was really fun. So yeah, there will be days where he doesn't want to do Axe Cop, and that's one thing that's helping having all these other characters. Or we've done the Axe Cop Presents comics, maybe you guys have seen those. Sometimes we'll just go, don't worry, we're not doing anything Axe Cop, we'll just play whatever you want, and I won't even take the notebook and write anything down. And he'll make something up, but if it's good, I'll like remember it all while we're playing, and I'll write it all down later.
Are you guys still doing Axe Cop stuff?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm getting a ton of material right now, because that's always been the hardest thing to get out of him is Ask Axe Cop. And so I kind of came with this idea. I bought a notebook. I went through all the questions that I have online, and I just wrote a question on every single page of this notebook by hand. So then I put Axe Cop stickers all over the cover and wrote Ask Axe Cop on the cover. And now Malachi, it's so much more tangible for him. So now every day we do 3 questions. And then he gets to play an iPad game on my iPad if we do the 3 questions. So he's all like, let's do our questions. And he's like looking for the perfect question. He's like, this one. And he like reads it out loud. So and then he like spins around the room, running around the room while he's telling me the answer. And I'm sitting there writing.
Has anybody in this room either met Malachi at an event or like seen him on video or anything?
On video.
He's really just like he's just such a sweet kid. I wish that part were more tangible when we talk about it.
I'm thinking about trying to give him a call here.
I don't know how he would be on the phone.
Yeah, let's try it.
We could totally call him.
Keep them entertained while I call.
Yeah, and so we did a panel like this at Emerald City, but Malachi was with us, and there were bowls of candy out here for the panelists, and Malachi just thought they were to give away to the audience. So we turned it into like, okay, whoever wants to ask us a question gets a piece of candy, and then it just turned into we're just throwing candy.
Yeah, he wasn't interested in talking about Axe Cop. He just wanted to give away candy.
Yeah, it was, and I think it's interesting too what Ethan was talking about. When I first met Malachi a year ago, there was definitely a lot of like. It wasn't just Axe Cop coming out of his brain. It was, he does things like,
yeah.
He's got magic goggles on that can see through the ceiling.
Uh-huh.
And then up there was a ghost of a great white shark and Satan. And it's like, so you're hanging out in a room with a 6-year-old and you're just like, oh my God, this is freaking me out. Nobody's available.
Hey, Dad and family. I'm at the convention in Portland. Yeah, there's Shauna. Everybody say hi. Hi! We're trying to call because I want to know if Malachi wanted to get on speakerphone and answer some questions. We're doing our panel, so...
Call back.
We probably got about another half hour, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, so call back if you get this. Bye, I love you.
Yeah. Okay, so are there any more questions about... Yeah.
What is Malachi's... Does he have a favorite character outside of those he's created with his own imagination, or...?
A few of the things he's a big fan of. He loves Ben 10. That's where you get a lot of the alien stuff and transformations from Ben 10. he likes old stuff too. He really loves Shauna. When we first did Axe Cop, she gave me a little Lulu book, which I looked at this and went like, old, girly.
Yeah.
He didn't believe me. He didn't
Yeah, I was
believe
like, all right, thanks. She gave me the book is like this thick of comics. I was sure we were not going to read. I'm like, all right, thanks. It was like,
Thanks, weird lady.
give me a phone book.
Yeah.
And Malachi one day picked it up and started reading it, and then he's like, read this to me. I'm like, all right. So I read one to him, and we were laughing through the whole comic. So we read through that. It's a phone book sized book. It's like that big, and we read through it over two times during when we were writing Bad Guy Earth 1. And I haven't told you this yet, but so Dark Horse has given us like every Lulu book they have published now. We have stacks of Lulu books at the house. And it's a ritual. Every night at 8 o'clock when Malachi goes to bed, we read 3 little Lulu stories. And also, one of our extra non-Axe Cop things we did is we did a couple stories called Little Choo Choo, where we made, basically I'm just going to try to draw in the style, make Malachi's own version of Little Lulu, and he has a hilarious one he did with a zombie Indian on a Segway. I can't wait. It's amazing, and it shoots arrows with little zombie heads on it.
I love that. Yeah, Axe Cop is actually the second funniest comic ever made. Little Lulu is actually the first. If you don't believe me, just read it. But
he loves Felix the Cat cartoons.
oh, really?
Yeah, the old ones.
Cylinder? Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know.
What
that.
else? Yeah, I don't know. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Oh, is there a certain level of Hostess fruit pie and ring ding consumption required? Or is it just like
Red Bull?
Hard stuff.
The main thing I bribe him with is video games. He loves my iPad. He gets that, that's the one thing, like, we call it work. He'll be like, we need to work. Like, or one of the things is he's so advanced in school, my parents are fine with when I visit for a month, taking him out of school, like, whenever I need him. So I'll show up at home and be at the house about 1 o'clock and say, can you pull him out? And so I'll pull him out around 1:30 or so he misses the last couple hours of school. And then he's focused. Sisters aren't home, it's just me and him. And he knows that it's work time, so he's just like, we'll go crazy and whatever we're working on. And then usually, it's not that like he runs out of material, it's like, it gets to a point where it just gets so insane, and I'm also so worn out. I'll be like, I think it's iPad time. I think it's time to get the iPad. And then he'll start playing the iPad. And I'll get it back, and like every app is opened. He's gonna play every game, and there's like smears of booger across the screen. It's just filthy. And he loves that thing. But every day he's like, can I get a new game? Can I get a new game? And so almost every day he gets a new game. So the games are just like, he's just covered. So he loves that thing.
And sugar.
But then Sugar, once a week, since I've been there, so I'm there for 4 weeks, so once a week he comes to, this time I rented an apartment in town. I didn't stay at my family's house, which they got a little mad at me for, but it's a little, it wears a man out, 30-year-old man living with his family. So he stays the night there with me once a week, and so we will usually get some kind of candy or something. Like we watched How to Train Your Dragon, he hadn't seen that yet. And he got a 3-foot gummy snake. We were in the store and he goes, can I get this? And I go, all right. He ate the whole thing. He just watched the movie just slowly. And he literally finished the last bite as the credits were rolling. And he just was amazing.
And then
Yeah.
face plant.
No, he was up all night. I was just too nice. I let him play iPad in bed. And I didn't have the heart to make him stop, so I let him play as long as he would go. And he outlasted me. I fell asleep, and I think he stopped at like 1:30 a.m. So I figure I'm his brother, I'm not his dad, I can let him do that kind of stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you guys get a lot of creative differences? Like, do you ever have to put him back on track or whatever?
No.
I can't imagine it working that way.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's hard to explain. I mean, there's definitely a good amount of ideas that he brings up that I reject. Because I'm really his editor. There's like 2 forms of editing. Like I edit, then she edits.
Yeah.
It's more that like, kids are. Like for one thing, he figures out what makes people laugh. So like all the baby humor, he started realizing how much of a reaction that gets. So suddenly every answer was baby this, baby that, baby this, baby that. And it got to be too much. So I'm like, I'd pick out the good ones, but so now it's poop. So he's like found out that poop is funny. And so now every answer has poop, so then I have to be like, well, I'm not gonna write that down, I gotta write something else.
But I will say, I'm not gonna give away the ending, but Bad Guy Earth ends in such a way that Ethan called me first to just say, like, I just have to tell you that this is how this ends. And I'm like, well, if that's how it ends, then okay. Because it's like, what am I
You're gonna love it or hate it.
tell the 6-year-old that this is not an okay ending for this series? No, it's what he wrote. This is what we're doing. So
Yeah.
that's how he said it ends. It's interesting too how, like, I think the writing actually does sort of reflect changes in Malachi in the last year and a half. He's still crazy, but yeah, he definitely goes through little stages of things.
Well, and Bad Guy Earth is just written so much differently than other Axe Cop stuff, because other Axe Cop stuff, I was calling him and getting as it comes. Like even the Ultimate Battle storyline, like he called it, like I asked him, what are we going to call this story? He said, The Ultimate Battle, but I didn't know there was going to be an Ultimate Battle eventually, because it started out just with, Hasta Mia, all this weird stuff. And it was almost just every few pages I got from him on the phone, so I had no idea how long it was going to go, so it was written kind of in this linear phone call way. But Bad Guy Earth was all these playtimes, and there was an ultimate story always in mind that I was putting together through the playtimes. So it's just a different, I don't know, I like it a lot more. I'm really excited about Bad Guy Earth.
Have you guys gotten much reaction from people who are Malachi's age, who maybe have read Axe Cop? There's a lot of, it seems like, obviously adults find it funny. But
Yeah.
do other kids his age get?
Yeah, it's not marketed to them a lot because it's hard to get to them through the comics industry. There's not a lot of kids, so that's kind of the challenge. But the kids that have gotten their hands on it, I know kids that love it. I know Doug TenNaples' son sleeps with the book.
Yeah, that was actually before we actually had the first volume out that Dark Horse did last December. We had a bunch of ash cans that we gave out at San Diego last year, and every employee who had a little kid came into my office and said, do you have any more of those ash cans? Because my kid loves Axe Cop. But the book wasn't out in time for Christmas necessarily, or we weren't sure it was going to be, so those flew out of my office and I have actually really cute pictures of 6-year-old kids who belong to people upstairs reading Axe Cop. And it's also really funny because this is a boring comic book industry thing, but I was asked to age rate Axe Cop. This is for ages what? And I actually chose 10 and up, because if you go as low as 6, a lot of retailers think, oh, it's a baby book, it's for 6-year-olds. It's well, it's not.
Huh.
But it was such a weird thing to have to, the book written by the 6-year-old is actually for ages 10 and up.
And I think most parents I know would be okay with the kind of stuff that's an Axe Cop, but it's kind of but it does push it. It pushes the boundaries of kid violence.
Yeah.
But the kids do love it, from what I've, But it's that weird thing where you can't say this is a kid's book on the cover, so.
Do his friends read it? Is he the coolest kid at school?
Most of them, I don't think they even care.
Wow.
I think, because he lives in a small town, comics just aren't a big thing there. So I think, and it's kind of good. It's kind of good,
And most comics for kids really 7-year-olds don't get excited for the most part about comics. It might be Yo Gabba Gabba, or there might be some property that they're into.
Mm-hmm.
But an individual comic that doesn't have an accompanying cartoon or something like that is a lot harder to get out to kids.
They're not impressed by that, oh, it's a real comic?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was been looking at this guy back here.
Oh,
Okay.
I was wondering,
Oh, you too. Sorry. Go ahead.
Is Malachi involved in the illustration process at all? Does he want things drawn a certain way, or are you ever sketching while you're working with him?
Sometimes. Just depends on the character. Sometimes when there's questions, I'll ask him, well, what's he look like? The bad guy king in the Bat Warthog Man series, he was pretty specific about it. He looked over my shoulder, and his one eye has a crown, he has camouflage pants, combat boots.
Wasn't he mad about which one, Rhinoceros Man? There was a character that you drew
Oh, right,
fat. And
Rhinoceros.
Yeah.
That was a Rhinoceros Man?
Yeah.
In the Ask Axe Cop, where the rhinoceros guy with the boulders. Well, I figured because the question was about a guy named Rhinoceros Man, so Malachi had made him up. So I figured I had a freedom to make him however I wanted him. Well, he didn't like him being fat. He was really mad that I made him fat. Way back there in the corner.
Is there
He likes your typical, he likes Spider-Man, Batman. He likes Star Wars, which I would love to see Malachi write a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
He likes Godzilla a lot lately too. We've been watching whatever's available on Netflix for Godzilla movies, so
Cool.
got some influence from those. Let's see, who hasn't had a question? I guess way back there.
I'm just curious about the potential of this concept for as a teaching tool. Clearly, Malachi is a genius, a very gifted child, but there are a lot of young gifted children out there. It seems to me that part of what's so exciting about this is that you have empowered, you have visualized, allowed his imagination to be translated, through your skills. And I'm wondering if, as an educational tool, there are any programmatic kinds of possibilities here where other imaginative, bright kids could be teamed with professional illustrators to have their ideas visualized at an early stage at a primary school level, K-12 or something, to sort of unleash their imaginations at an early stage when they're still.
That's an awesome idea. I mean, I think the problem would be finding talented enough artists who can actually do that kind of stuff. I mean, that's one of the things, and I don't want to embarrass Ethan here, but I mean, Malachi is awesome, and he is an idea machine. But so much of why Axe Cop works is actually because of Ethan's skills as a cartoonist, and it's one of those things that, like, not to take anything at all away from Malachi, because it's clearly his like imaginative genius, but it just wouldn't work in the hands of most other cartoonists, no matter how capable they are. Like Ethan's a little ridiculous in that in that respect. So, but I do, that's an amazing idea, and I think it has some merit, but I don't think Ethan's going to do that anytime soon because he's busy drawing Axe Cop right now. But but it is pretty remarkable too the way he's changed, and Malachi is really confident when he talks to Ethan about this stuff. Like when you see them interacting, it's really interesting to see how excited Malachi gets and how much he owns his part of the process. So, yeah, I think that would be an amazing thing to try for sure.
What were you like at his age? Like, what kind of stuff were you coming up with?
Man, when I was 5, my mom wouldn't let me watch boy kind of cartoons until I got into Ninja Turtles when I was 8. So Ninja Turtles was my big thing when I was a kid. But my best friend when I was 5 was a little girl across the street when we played My Little Ponies. But she had them having little tea parties, and I had them like strangling each other and kicking each other off cliffs and stomping on each other's faces and stuff.
I would say that pretty good.
What's that?
There's a new My Little Ponies cartoon that's supposed to be pretty good.
Oh, really? I could get on there, yeah.
My Violent Pony.
Yeah.
Someone's done that fanfic.
You talked about, you've been talking about having a video game concept potentially. Is there anything with that, or even like a Halloween costume? For Halloween costumes, be the best.
Video game, nothing official. Halloween costume, I don't know if I'm supposed to announce it or not, but we
Just did.
Shh. We licensed a Halloween costume.
Nice.
Let's see. I'm gonna go with you because you haven't.
I was just wondering. I mean, everybody in this room, wanted to be a fireman at some point. I just wonder, does Malachi, has he ever expressed to you he wants to do this when he grows up, or has he got a different dream for his direction?
He kind of has different ones. The only time he's ever said he wants to be a writer when he grows up, a comic book writer when he grows up, was after our first day we went to Dark Horse. We went back and got in the car after he had experienced, being all around the Dark Horse offices and seeing this place. And he said, I wanted to be a comic book maker when I grow up. But then since then he's been saying he wants to be a chemist. And he said the main reason he wants to do that is because he wants to make chemicals. One of the reasons is to make people be able to do karate. So you just grab a cricket and do karate. And then the other one he's been saying to me, when he is my age, then I'll be old. So he wants to make chemicals that will make me this age again, so we can both be 30 together. So he's got plans.
Wow.
Karate fight together.
Yeah.
So, two of my favorite characters are Judge Dredd and Flaming Carrot. Somehow your brother seems to have fused kind of the spirit of both of those.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
But one of the things I realized after reading a lot of Axe Cop was that I'm not sure whether he realizes it or not, and maybe you can answer this, is that, you know, after reading it for a long time, I realized kind of Axe Cop is he's kind of like the Rock. He does not change at all, ever, for any reason whatsoever. And yet, you know, Flute Cop becomes Dinosaur Soldier, becomes Hot Cop. He's constantly in flux, you know, and so that kind of dichotomy, some of the kind of thematic stuff that I've seen in there, how much of that do you get a sense is real, or is it just kind of accidental, just coincidental after the fact, or?
Well, part of it is that I've been a comedy guy most of that's always been my gift, I feel like, in comics and stuff. I always feel, and so part of this is me, anytime he gives me stuff, I'm thinking, how can I lay this out? Where's the punchline in this? You know, and so, where's the running gag? And also when we play, Axe Cop is usually me. Because from the very beginning, he walked in and said, "You want to play Axe Cop?" And I said, "Sure." And so he goes, "Who are you going to be?" And he goes, "You can be Flute Cop." And I go, "I don't want a flute." So he goes, "All right, have the axe, I'll be Flute Cop." He didn't care. And this is before it was a comic or anything.
Right.
And so I'm usually Axe Cop when we're playing together. And so usually Axe Cop, in most of the stories, is just almost more of an observer. And so I'm able to keep him consistent, because there have been times, I mean, Malachi has done a lot of stuff during our writing processes that I don't put in, where Axe Cop dies and dies and dies and dies, because we play Bad Guy Days. That's one reason that the bad guys in Bad Guy Earth became so horrifying, because I finally realized when I was up there for that month that we weren't getting good bad guys. Like, he had come with a character named Punch Myself in the Face, who's a bad guy that just killed himself. Just these dumb characters. He had this woman character that, like, her only power was if somebody came up behind her and grabbed her, she could punch herself in the face and a spike would shoot out of her head and kill that person, but then she'd die too. So that'll go in somewhere in the extras someday. But this kind of, so I'm like, how am I going to have that character span 3 issues? So one day I start this day off fresh, and I go, "Malachi, we're bad guys today." He's like, "We're bad guys?" I'm like, "Yeah." Who are we going to be? He goes, "We're the Psychic Brothers." I'm like, "Okay, what's my name?" He's like, "I'm Psychic Boss, you're Psychic Helper." And he started coming up with this stuff. And then suddenly we're like killing every character in Axe Cop every day in all these different ways. So I just have to pick the best ways. So usually Malachi gives me all these options. It's like the story is all these branches that go all these different ways, and then I just pick my favorite branches and piece them all together. So it's kind of how it works, especially in a long one like this, like, you know, Bad Guy Earth. It's kind of the best of our playtimes.
Right.
And also and that's one reason Dinosaur Soldier consistently is always changing, because it's become a running gag, and Malachi's caught on to it too. So,
I see.
So I worked that running gag in.
Very
too,
aware
so.
of it.
Yeah. There.
I sent my 11-year-old brother the first couple issues of Bad Guy Earth, and told him I was actually going to come hear you talk at this, and I asked him if he had any questions for you, to tell you that you're awesome. I told him that's not a question.
It could be in question. It's questionable.
Are you awesome?
It's up to debates.
You know you were awesome.
Tell him I said thank you very much.
Any other questions?
No call from Malachi here.
Sorry to keep dominating.
It's fine.
I just want to know if you know, after the 1.5 years of doing Axe Cop, do you have any pent-up ideas that you want to write yourself you're waiting to do?
Well, I have been wanting to get I have a comic called Bearmageddon, which that was my original idea that I was gonna. Axe Cop was just a test run, because I had never been into webcomics, but I knew that I wanted to do that, because my experience in the comic industry is you don't make money on your comics. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna give them away for free. Webcomics seems like a good idea, but I had never put one online, so I wanted to test out the functionality of a webcomic first. So before I did Bearmageddon, I just threw these Axe Cop comics up online that I had made over Christmas. And lo and behold, now that's my job. So Bearmageddon's been waiting, and so I've been working on it, but I'm hoping in May to get it going online, and I'll probably just be putting a couple pages up a week of Bearmageddon. And Axe Cop online updates will be picking up again soon, because we're going to be working on the next volume of Axe Cop too. So lots of stuff. And also, Axe Cop's had an effect on my desire to create more family-friendly stuff. Like I was leaning in that way before, but now I love making stuff kids can enjoy, and I love the way Axe Cop has kind of opened my eyes to how you can really make stuff that adults can really enjoy and kids can too. So I want to play with doing that kind of stuff, like stuff that's fun for all ages. I think there's a, it doesn't have to always be boring. It can be a lot of fun, and so I'm way more open to that market now, doing that kind of thing. So I want to work on more of that.
Is there ever going to be a movement to make a Learnout?
A Learnout? Like actually have an AXCOP Learnout?
Yes.
That'd be our version of PAX.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. A fan would have to set that up because I don't have time. But yeah, it'd be great having a real AXCOP Learnout. Let's do it. Just how to use a chainsaw gun.
Any other team-ups in future planned?
We don't have any specific team-ups. We've been talking about doing another Dr. McNinja.
Mm-hmm.
When we were reading Bad Guy Earth issue 2, in the back they have that advertisement, most awesomest comics ever, and it shows XCOP right next to a Dr. McNinja comic. So Malachi saw that, and he started asking me about Dr. McNinja, and I go, well, it's all online, you can read it. So he had my iPad, so he typed it in and got Dr. McNinja, and he started reading. I think he read like 3 stories, Dr. McNinja, and the cool thing about Dr. McNinja, in general, it's, there's not a lot of swearing or anything there, so he was loving it, and he's all excited to, because me and Chris have talked about doing like a Halloween special or something. So we'll see. Nothing guaranteed yet, but and also me and Ryan North have been talking about doing a crossover for a while, just a Wexter on the Dinosaur Comics. We actually have an 8-bit Wexter drawing prepared for it, but we just haven't had a chance to write it yet.
Questions? How are we doing on time?
Yeah, how are we doing on time? I'm trying to think of something.
It's 2:30.
Okay, we got 15 more minutes. What can you do?
Did it take a lot of work to adapt the webcomics for print?
I can answer that question.
Go ahead.
Actually, Ryan Hill can answer that question because he just walked into the room. It was actually sort of weird because when I first started looking at the comics online, I couldn't figure out what the heck Ethan had done. Like, what format are these comics in? Because I printed them all out, and they're all sort of funky in different sizes. Not really, but so we basically had to add a lot of black trim to the outside. So
the main reason, because XCOP I always drew it in regular page sizes, except for when I started doing these tall versions, I started cheating and doing a 1.5 pages sometimes. But I also started cheating because online there's no bleed. So I would start letting my lettering go way out to the edges, and then suddenly they couldn't, There's actually like a couple cameos that are in like the Baby Man chase, like Jonan Vasquez is in one of them. I put him in there, but he's cut off in the book because he was too close to the edge. And also Doug TenNapel, I think he's in there in one of the pictures. He's cut off in the book. So now I'm really paying attention to where I tuck stuff in.
Yeah, our per service bureau guys kept calling me upstairs like, "Is this okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think we might need to move that balloon this way." So it was actually again, Dark Horse has a really great service bureau, a lot of awesome people keeping their eyes out for that kind of stuff. So it was, we got a lot of help from the guys upstairs making it look okay to print.
Yeah.
But now he's learned his lesson,
good, yeah.
and now he knows.
And I'd made comics before. I think I just got lazy or something. I don't know. I figured we'll take care of it when we print it.
Yeah, totally. And we did. It's all right. It's all fine. And also, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but there is going to be another mini-series next year. So
yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, we basically, when Ethan and I were planning, like once we got the first sort of year of AXCOP, mostly in the can, like, okay, we had Bad Guy Earth written, and we knew Ethan was going to finish it, and then hopefully make some time to work on something non-AXCOP. But there's also just this whole notion of like, we need to do this now, like there's no waiting 2 more years to do another AXCOP to see what happens. If Malachi's doing it, we're going to do another AXCOP. So we basically worked it out so that the publishing deal that Dark Horse is working on with you right now is that we're going to sort of repeat the same thing. So there's going to be Bad Guy Earth AXCOP Volume 2 from the collected online stuff. And then the Bad Guy Earth trade will actually be out in November. It was so popular and the comics already sold out, Dark Horse had to pull it forward a number of months just so that people can actually get the story instead of waiting for it. So Bad Guy Earth trade will be out, then the Volume 2 of the online stuff will be out, and then another miniseries will start. But the miniseries is being written right now. So you guys don't have to worry about like Malachi hitting puberty and like, I'm using Axe body spray now. We have those concerns, so we made sure it's all getting done right now. And,
Brain dump now.
Totally.
A couple of the concepts we were working, because one thing, this trip isn't just one miniseries we're working on. Like I've tried to work on a bunch of different stories to fill up the content on the site and work on a main miniseries story, which we've been working on. But just some of the stuff we've been working on, without giving away too many spoilers, we're working on a story a dog story where we have Ralph Wrinkles, Army Chihuahua, Presty the Pug, and then a new character named Twinkie Dog. He's a dog that eats these, it's a Twinkie for dogs called Twinkies. They got dog food in them. And he becomes powerful because he eats one altered by a scientist. Yeah, a chemist. So they go on a mission together. So it's like an incredible journey or something. And then we have one that I think I might do for Dark Horse Presents, but it's one where Wexter, his dad comes to visit him and they go on a night mission together. So it's 2 T-Rexes wearing cat suits, killing bad guys in their sleep and catching up on old times. So it's amazing. I'm trying to think of what else. We had a little choo-choo. Some funny stuff in that. If anybody, I don't think anybody here was at the event we did in LA, but we did an event, or you might have seen the video online. We created a character live for everybody. Like he made him up on the spot, and I made this character named Junior Cobb, which is a version of King Kong. Which the way we got that is he said, let's make a new character up. He said, King Kong, and I go, he's not new. Change the name a bit. He says, Junior Kong, and I go, that sounds like something someone's already made up, can change it. And he goes, Junior Cobb. And I go, is that Cobb spelled C, or with 1 B or 2 B's? And he goes, 3. So it's Junior Cobb with 3 B's. And he's like, he looks a lot like King Kong, but he has robotic fists with like guns in the knuckles and a bow tie. And he has a tail that shoots out jet airplanes. Yeah. And so he's become a big part of the story that's going to be the miniseries.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and one of the things we did to work on that story, because I'm always strategizing, like, how can we work on this story? Like, what can we do to get good action sequences? Like some of the car chase stuff in Bad Guy Earth. You know, in his room, we set up a bunch of car tracks and like, we got all those tracks out, set up cars, set up a whole city in his room and just had car chases. And like, you know, that's how he got like the street catapult was he just like grabbed one of the streets and flipped a car off. He didn't flip a car off, but he like flipped the street up. And so that's where that came from, stuff like that. Or the Super Lion Pig thing, like the pig was in the road and he ran him over and all that stuff got created while we were playing with toys. So my dad just bought a new grill. And so he had all the box and all the styrofoam and cardboard and stuff. So I brought that in and we cut it all up and I was having him draw windows and like we made a whole city out of like styrofoam and cardboard and we just like pretended, or we had these big toys that were pretending to be the characters and having like a Godzilla fight there. And that's, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So what does your dad think about all this? He just thinks it's great.
He's like elated. He loves it. He's just the jolliest. It's got to be weird, you know, like your oldest offspring and your youngest are like, you know, creating this thing together. He's almost too, like, you know, like he needs to calm down a little bit. Like I feel bad for his daughters because, like, you know, he's so obsessed with it. You know, he's always Googling Axe Cop every day, Googling. You probably, if you've ever read Axe Cop article, you'll see him like commenting on them. You know, like he feels like everybody who writes a nice review about Axe Cop is like his new son. You know, he writes, "Oh, thank you, I love my son."
Yeah, somebody named Tom is commenting. It's their dad.
That's my dad.
It's so cute. He's a sweetheart, though.
Very nice, yeah, very good guy.
Very good guy. Yeah.
You ever get any input from the rest of the family on Axe Cop, or is this pretty much just you and Malachi on this project?
Every once in a while, the sisters will be involved. Most notably, Megan was there when she had a big thing to do with Unibaby being created. She was trying to butt in because he was saying baby and she was saying unicorn, and they started fighting. And then she said Unibaby, and I go, wait, do you guys mean like a baby with a unicorn horn? And they go, yeah. That's amazing. I'm using that. They were arguing about what would be the weapon to kill this robot. I was like, yeah, that's good.
Any more questions?
I'm actually impressed with all the questions. Our last panel, like, no one had any questions.
Does Malachi have a favorite toy to play with for inspiration?
My iPad.
So if someone gave him like an iPad just of his own, do you think you would lose?
I'd lose a lot of, because that was one thing. Our brother Isaiah, who's actually here helping me run the table today, he was, he kind of was the cooler brother than me because he had an Xbox. Like, even though, like, you know, everybody would think like, oh, Malachi must love you the best because you do all these comics. And like, no, he'd always talk about Isaiah. Because Isaiah, whenever he went over there, he could play Castle Crashers on his Xbox. When Isaiah made the mistake of us all putting money into getting an Xbox for Christmas, it was his idea, so we got Malachi his own Xbox. Well, now he never talks about Isaiah. He's not as excited to go visit now. He lost his foothold. But yeah, so I gotta be careful he doesn't get an iPad, 'cause that could really affect the comic. Though he can't control, he still can't buy his own apps, so I still have that.
Okay,
You got 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So.
One more question?
No pressure, just ask the best question.
So, there must be a whole bunch of really tough to negotiate sort of legal issues. How, you know, there's some money coming in, presumably there's a trust fund that has to be set up, there's child labor, random stuff. How much does that actually work out being a problem, or is it just not?
Well, luckily, I mean, my family and I, we have a great relationship. They trust me totally, so we just set it up to keep any issues. I mean, my family they just trust me with it, so they just pretty much sign it over to me and let me pay Malachi's. You know, we have our own deal set up on that, and everything's done in my name. So, I mean, as long as Malachi doesn't grow into like a real angry little kid that decides, and some like lawyer comes up and like goes, "We could get your brother." It could happen. That's actually is a risk I'm taking, but I mean.
Well, I guess I was thinking more from Dark Horse's point of view because, you know.
Yeah, and that's like that's what frees it up, because like any of those outside deals, Dark Horse, any of those, you know, we've got the Munchkin game thing. It all goes through me, so I'm just kind of the sole. I'm the copyright.
I think, and I also would like to say, because I do think there's this sort of hilarious, like, oh, Ethan, you're so rich now.
Yeah,
like,
right.
wow, you made an X-Cop. And, you know, comics aren't really like that.
Yeah,
it's not, you know, it comes in dribs and drabs, and it's really like, here's your $2,000 for this thing. And, you know, like, it's not a lot of money in the first place. So, you know, I think the real benefit to this for Ethan, besides the fact that we made a bunch of awesome books that will stay in print, people will keep buying X-Cop Volume 1, and that will eventually lead to good stuff for you. You know, it's more that people can see what he does now, so this is great for Ethan in that respect.
Yeah, I just put it that like people that make comics, you see everything that they do all day.
Yeah.
In front of your face, but if you saw a dishwasher, like if you had to look at every single dish they washed, then suddenly you'd think that, man, you wash so many dishes and you must just work all night long.
You must be
No,
so
you
rich.
just don't see the dishes.
Yeah.
But when you make comics, like everybody sees all the work you do.
Right.
But you know, it's been like last year was, you know, it wasn't too bad, but it was I've made more money in my life doing other things. Like I made more money doing graphic design at a telescope company. It's still been my best year.
Your work is so dynamic and there's so much energy in it. I think that's why it really complements well with his ideas, because you kind of meet him in that regard. And I was just wondering how much has kind of fed back the other direction for your own work, Bearmageddon. How much of his kind of just crazy, surreal, no limits creativity is fed back into your writing?
Well, I wrote Bearmageddon before X-Cop, but it has affected my approach to writing for kids, I think, to some extent. Just trying to unmarry myself from the logic and the things that like I am so committed to as an adult, and try to just be a little more, break the rules more, because kids are more willing to break the rules. And so I'm interested to see how I write my next kid's kind of story, because I think it has affected me a lot.
Yeah, we were chatting on Facebook the other day, and we sort of hit on the notion that one of the best things about X-Cop is this like impossibility, like just these ridiculous things happen that aren't really possible. And I think that's sort of that's the very best thing about it, and that's why it appeals to so many people. And I do see that as something that you'll probably continue to work with, like this whole notion of like, well, who says it's impossible? Like that's the thing about comics, if you can draw it, which you can, then it's there.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the key, you know, that's one of the things that is a strength about comics as a medium.
And that's what wonder is, like when you know, being able to have wonder is, you don't know how it works, you know, and I think that there is kind of I come from the perspective, you know, like it's almost sad the way people look at, like, you know, you look at the sun like, oh, it's just a bunch of gas, and it kind of makes it not so wondrous. It's like still pretty amazing thing, you know, and that's like I'm a big fan of the author G.K. Chesterton. One thing he says is the reason that the unicorn was created to remind us that horses are amazing. You just stick a horn on its head, and then suddenly you're like, that's an amazing creature, because you're so used to seeing a horse.
Right,
You
right.
take a tiger and paint it pink, suddenly you think it's cool, you know. It's because things become mundane, but so I just like the idea of being reminded, and I think that's why it's so appealing to see things through a kid's eyes, because they're seeing things with all this wonder and excitement, and I think playing with impossibilities and dreaming and not thinking everything is always locked down to laws and, you know, the way things are, and we already know that it's all going to work, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to see through those eyes.
One more question.
Did Malachi know that Abraham Lincoln was a boy before that question came out?
No, that's what's funny. Yeah, I was really low on material from him, and this was I really needed material badly, and then my dad, he's always trying to help me out. So I had a day where I was just so busy, I had all this stuff planned, and my dad calls up that morning and goes, all right, I kept Malachi out of school so you guys can work on Skype all day long. And I'm like, Dad, I can't work today. You should have warned me. So finally later that day, I just got him on the phone, and I had a receipt, and I wrote this answers on the back of the receipt, and the only question I could remember was, have you ever shaken hands with Abraham Lincoln? So he goes, he wanted to marry Abraham Lincoln. And I go, do you know that Abraham Lincoln is a boy? And he's like, well, Axe Cop thought he was a girl too. So I tried to give my best explanation of who Abraham Lincoln was. And, yeah. So we got the most insane answer we've ever gotten. One of my favorites. All right, we're out of time, so
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Brought to you by Tfal.com, the world's best online retailer of comics and collectibles. Whatever you're into, we've got just the thing for your collection.